My dad wrote a porno.
I'm going to say yes because...
Oh, hot dang, you come in strong at the end. That's what matters most. That's right. Hi, I'm Josh Owen. As the owner of a video marketing company in New Orleans, I've been on the quest to learn everything I can about marketing. Everyone has a different style, different strategy, and a different experience. Is there a wrong way to do it? A right way to do it? Let's find out together as we make marketing make sense. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Make Marketing Make Sense. I'm here with Ewell Smith, the one and only, who also does franchise coaching and is the host of his own podcast called CloseTheDeal.com. I got all that right.
Yep, CloseTheDeal.com
fantastic
podcast. Yeah.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, I know you do a lot, so just kind of walk me through, what is your operations? What do you do? Tell me about that. I mean, I know the names, but I don't know exactly what it all is.
Sure. Well, the CloseTheDeal.com podcast, I was first exposed to a podcast during the BP oil spill. During that time, I was head of the Louisiana Seafood Promotion and Marketing Board. Mm-hmm. And we did all sorts of media. I mean, every kind of media you could possibly imagine. And then this one guy shows up. I said, I want to interview you for a podcast. I'm like, well, what's a podcast? And it was cool. It opened my eyes, and I started learning about it. And I was always enamored by it. So I did a test pilot a couple years ago under a different name, under AbsoluteMindset.com podcast. And I liked it. I'm like, okay, do I like this? So then I changed the name to a domain I've been owning for a long time, CloseTheDeal.com. And I interview entrepreneurs, just like you all do, and business leaders. Yeah. And we talk about sales and marketing, how to grow their businesses. And they share their stories.
That's wild. Like, when you say BP oil spill, how long ago was it when you started this podcast?
No, okay, so I first was exposed to podcasting.
Yeah. Okay.
During the BP oil spill.
Yeah.
And then I started the Absolute Mindset podcast as a pilot. I did 9 episodes just to see if I'd like it, right? Because I saw the value of working with the media.
Right.
Because during the BP oil spill with the Seafood Board, we did things a little differently. Everybody else was doing press releases. And we ended up hiring a former CBS News journalist and People Magazine's one of their top photographers who's with them for 20 years. And we created a newsroom to create the news stories that we would then give to the media. Okay. Wow. And that made the media's job easier because we provided the B-roll, we provided the stories, we provided the contacts of the people that we interviewed, and that worked like a charm. We did thousands of media interviews. Right. I got the taste of being on that side of the producing side versus being on the interviewing side. Okay. I'm like, well, this is really fascinating. Yeah. And that model helped us gain authority and become the go-to source for the media during one of the biggest crises that this country's seen. Yeah. So when the guy came to me with a podcast, I'm like, well, that's different from everything else. And it's stuck in my mind. Yeah. So and I started following podcasts, and I was like, I'm enamored by it. Yeah. And there's so many great podcasts out there, and thank you for having me on your podcast because this is our pleasure. We're talking shop.
We're in that podcast ecosystem now. We're moving and grooving.
We're talking shop, so I really appreciate being here with you.
Yeah, 100%.
And so 2 years ago, I said, well, let me try this. Yeah. And I did. I put it out. I did 9 episodes, and the hardest part starting a podcast is getting your initial guest, but you turn to your circle of friends, people you know. Yeah. But I did that. I'm like, the first couple, the first several, even though I've done a lot of media, I was still nervous. Yeah. Because it's different. It's asking the questions is different. Yeah. So I'm like, this is fun. It's a lot of fun, and then I started realizing, okay, I'm back to where I've got some level of authority because I can reach out and ask people, and they respond. And I recognized that 10 years ago during the BP spill with the media when we did the newsroom. Yeah. So there's a lot of power in a podcast, and I love it. So I changed the name to the CloseTheDeal.com podcast. I started doing just 1 episode a month because I was doing it as a side hustle to my contract work for the trade association work that I've done all these years. And I'm like, okay, there's something here. Because now people are reaching out to me on a regular basis, and it has a lot to do with the domain, of course. But again, I love it. I love the thing about podcasts. I love edifying others, and you shine a spotlight on somebody else, which is really cool.
Yeah,
that's what you
exactly.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I mean, obviously, you tried this test podcast, right?
Yeah.
And now you're all of a sudden
I'm in
doing another one. That's now even more focused, more branded, more you.
Yep.
What were the I mean, obviously, that must mean you must have loved something about it, and it must have benefited you in some way. What were these big benefits that really brought you to say, hey, I need to bring this not only again but under my own name?
Well, when you look at, so you become by virtue you become an authority on whatever the subject is you talking about over a period of time.
Right.
But it also is an incredible networking tool because you build a network of people you may have never otherwise met. You can get access to people at levels people don't realize you can get access to. I mean, even when I started the Absolutely Mindset, the first version, the test, 9 episodes, I got 2 superstar personalities, just by asking. And they did not know me from Adam. They had no clue who I was. But because I reached out, they responded, and that created a wave of people wanting to be on the show.
Yeah.
Because they saw me interview them.
Right.
And that's how this starts to multiply. So one is the networking aspect, meeting new people, getting access, getting behind the scenes. I mean, you are getting an education with every person that sits in this chair.
100%. Yeah.
And that is fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're getting free education.
That's right. So this is what we call continuing education.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We're just learning and especially when it comes to all different things in marketing, it's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that part was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So so the networking piece is vital. If you're in sales or you have a business, if you're in sales, it positions you again as the expert, and because people see you.
Right.
And if you're an entrepreneur or you have a small business, your number one job is to get attention for that business. And this is one of the tools, many tools that are available, but this tool gives you access. And I was speaking to a franchisor who with Homefront Brands, a big brand that has multiple franchises underneath them that they created. This guy has run $100 million companies. He loves podcasting because he understands the value of getting to people and interviewing people and having that access that he not even as big of his company he has.
Right.
He would still have never had access to people without that podcast.
Yeah.
That's what it does for you.
Yeah.
So the networking piece is vital. The authority piece is vital. And then just having a great time doing it.
Exactly.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if there's one thing I know about people, they love talking about themselves.
That's true.
And so you get people talking about themselves, and not only do they get a chance, not only are you an authority, but they're an authority.
That's correct.
On what they want to say.
That's correct.
And so you get, it's a best of both worlds. You're sharing them, which they love. So I think it's a win-win. Why don't you do a podcast? So everyone out there, podcast time. It's time to do a podcast.
That's right. And also, it's a great top of sales funnel for leads.
Yeah.
If you're a salesperson or you have a business that needs to get people in the door, it's just another layer.
Right.
And it has to be done well. But it's the journey, and you all doing the same thing. You're making it easier for people to do what they do.
Yeah.
With this podcast.
And that's a good point. Is I know a lot of people have. I mean, I can't put the number of people on my hands that there are that I've talked to that have said, "Oh, I've wanted to start a podcast, but it was an idea, but I could never do it. It's I don't even know where to begin. Like, for you, you jumped right into it. What would you say to those people that are struggling to even get off the ground?
Well, I was one of those people.
I was.
I said that for a while. I learned about it in 2011. I was enamored watching other people do it. I'm like, why am I not doing it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got some experiences I can share, and I love marketing and promotions and entrepreneurship and all those things to talk in sales. I love talking about those things. Why not do a podcast? So, and the first one was about mindset and how that plays so that's the reason right there, mindset.
Yeah.
It all goes back to mindset.
Yeah.
So I want to is the worst thing you can tell yourself. You say, I've got to.
Yeah, 100%.
You got to get to the got to part because every day is a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Every interview you don't do is a missed opportunity. And again, these relationships.
Right.
I mean, you and I ran into each other randomly at a networking event.
Yeah. And I saw your shining face. I was like, "Oh my God, look at this man! I'm about to interview him. What are the odds?"
We met over Zoom.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, I'm bouncing into you.
So, and it adds to that event. It adds to us seeing each other.
Absolutely. So it makes it fun.
Yeah.
So, but I got to, and the number one thing that holds people back, the reason why they're saying is is because of fear.
Yeah.
And the fear destroys more dreams than anything else.
Yeah.
And it destroys the chance of opportunities.
Yeah.
Because with exposure, and it's going back to the entrepreneur, they've got to get exposure for that business. Yeah. They've got to get attention for that business to drive sales and to grow the business.
100%.
And if they don't do it, you see it all the time. There's the ones that don't, their business ultimately suffers.
Right.
And that competition captures that.
Yeah.
So podcasting, again, is one of the big tools, but it's such a great tool because it's easy to do.
100%. No, I mean, I think another part of that is, that fear a lot of times stems from just not knowing where to even start. Like, what's the first step that I could make? So for you, giving those people like, hey, don't worry, just start. A lot of people, like, they say, like, if you want to go running, you got to just put your shoes on.
Sure.
But what is the put your shoes on for your podcast?
It's not complicated. It really isn't. I'll boil it down to what I.
Oh yeah,
I'll tell
here we
you,
go. Everybody, get your note and paper, get your pad out, and start working it out.
I'll tell you exactly
write it down.
what I do.
Yeah.
All right. The first thing is taking the first step, saying you're going to do it. Get past that, right?
All right. Check.
The next thing is you need some basic equipment. You need a laptop. You probably got one of those.
Yeah.
You probably need one of these, a microphone. You don't have to have an expensive one. You can get a $50, $100 microphone. It would do just fine to hook up to your laptop. Yeah. And then then you've got to get a guest.
Yeah.
So turn to your immediate network, and then that will begin. They'll say, they'll enjoy being on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like when I'm done, I'll probably say, okay, I've got somebody you might want to interview.
Yeah.
So that's how that starts. So that's the next step. So you get the podcast done over Zoom. I use Zoom to start out with. I'll tell you the next tool I use. Mm-hmm. I used Zoom a couple times, and it was a little glitchy. Okay. I don't have a fancy studio like you.
Hey,
But this is.
Hey, this is the next step. That's right. That's right.
We'll have to work
you do that first, and then we build up to that. We'll talk about that later. We'll get those business deals taken care of.
But for everybody else, like me, it's a laptop. It's a microphone. It is the guest.
Yeah.
It is then you got the show done. Well, now you need the platform to do the interview. Mm-hmm. And the platform I use is Zen. I started on Zoom. I went to Zencaster. It's free to start out with. And what they do that's unique is when you're done making that interview, the files download on my computer and that person's computer. If there's a glitch, you don't lose the whole interview.
Nice.
That person can download the files on their side and send them to you, and you don't lose the interview, which is cool.
Awesome.
And the quality is spectacular.
Wow.
That they put out. So that's the next piece. And then once you have the show in the can, you gotta produce it. Mm-hmm. And the way you produce it, you can either find somebody to send your audio to, and there's plenty of people. You look it up. There's plenty of people that will do it for a fee, and the fees are not that unreasonable. Or you can do it yourself. And I use a platform called Descript. And Descript is AI based, and it's unbelievable what I can do. I record in my kitchen, in the room next to the kitchen, which was the dining area, which turned into an office because of COVID.
Gotcha.
And I record in that, and there's tile floors and hard walls. Descript, you hit a button that says studio sound, and all of a sudden, it sounds like I'm in a studio. It corrects all
Okay.
It takes out all the echoes.
Okay.
Now, it's not perfect,
right,
but it does a really good job.
Yeah.
And for where I'm at this stage,
that's what you need.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's one thing it does. And all the ums and the ahs, you can find the words that are repeated.
Wow.
It will find them all.
That is a great tool.
It will highlight them all.
Yeah.
And you can either go one by one, or you can say delete all.
Yeah.
You hit delete all, and boom, they're all
Wow.
gone.
Do you guys know about that tool? You know about that tool? Who knows about that tool?
That
Anybody
is
know about
an
that? That's a new. All right. That's what you're saying about this whole continuing education thing. We're all learning today.
Is
They're
a
great.
phenomenal tool.
That's awesome.
And then also when you upload the files, it transcribes it for you.
Nice. Okay.
So you got
great.
the transcription right there too.
Okay.
And it's shockingly accurate. I mean, yeah, you got to make some, like, it always
Minor
misspells
changes.
my first name.
Oh no.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Yeah. You know.
it's Y-U-L-E.
You got a little extra. Extra sauce in your name.
So it's spelled
Yeah.
my name completely
Yeah,
wrong, but that's
right.
okay.
Yeah.
So now you have a show that's
Right.
produced, right? Mm-hmm. The next step is really simple. You have to have a way to get it out to the marketplace. Now you could do just audio, which is I just started as audio. That's really easy. You use a platform called Buzzsprout, or there's other platforms like it, and that platform is like $12 a month to do it. It's very inexpensive.
And it just shoots it out to all the
It
platforms.
shoots it out to, you pick the players you want to be on, like Apple or Google or Spotify.
Yeah.
You pick, there's a host of players you can put it on.
Yeah.
And you can send them to all if you want. You can send them the 3 you like, or whatever, the 2 you like. That's so easy, it's ridiculous. You just upload the MP3 file and it's gone.
Boom.
You hit send, publish, and it goes to all of them immediately. So that is seamless. And then, of course, I just graduated again. Now you all came out the gate with video and all the equipment. I just graduated to video. Now I was recording just for audio.
Right.
But now I just did my second video. And now,
Wow, look at you. All right,
so-
give
so-
a round of applause right
so
there.
it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I love it.
But the
That's
thing
awesome.
is, I didn't have any of those skills. I didn't have any film skills.
Right.
I did not have any technical audio skills.
Right.
So I'm learning those along the way. Now I'm using video, and now I'm publishing that to YouTube.
Right.
And then I'll have those chopped up and
Okay.
become little marketing segments.
Okay,
So
awesome.
that's a very cool tool. But what's important to note about that is just like you go through the mental process of saying, I'm going to do the audio and do my first podcast. Well, all of a sudden you're like, okay, now I got to figure out, am I going to be comfortable doing video? That's where the question comes to mind. And then there's the technical side of that.
Yeah.
Descript takes the edge off of all that,
Right.
which is good to know.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Definitely.
So yeah, so those steps
Yeah.
will get you to your first podcast. If you want to start with audio, or you
love
can
it.
start with audio and video, or you can go all out and do what you guys are doing.
Wow. Yeah. Well, hey, look, I think that's the first step. And what you're saying is great. I think we got to, I don't know if we can leave it right here. This is going to be a list of all those tools,
Yeah.
We got Zencaster, Descript, Buzzsprout.
That will get you going.
Boom.
Then you need a microphone. I use Rode, which is very affordable, $100, I think.
Boom.
Yep.
It's just like they're
And
all
that's it.
falling right from the sky right here, just landing right in that page.
And that's it.
Boom. Thanks,
then,
Kyle.
And then and then the personality, to carry the conversation.
I love that. I think I have some of that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Say it. We're putting them in the show notes.
Excellent.
We'll put them in the show notes. Tell the people, all y'all people.
Yep.
There's going to be show notes of all of these lovely things that me and you just talked about.
And I'll add one more thing. I just added a special series on the podcast.
Oh.
Since I'm a franchise consultant.
Yeah.
Going back to using it as a sales funnel, I have a series called Franchise and Funding Insights, where I'm now interviewing franchisors. I've been interviewing entrepreneurs and marketers and sales folks. Now I'm starting to interview franchisors and franchise leaders in that space, and I'm going to and that will again position me as an expert or authority. It'll position me as an authority in that space,
right?
Which will soften the sales process.
Okay.
And I'm really not in the world I'm in. It's not so much a sales process as it is an educational process.
Yeah.
But for other people in the sales world,
right.
It's an incredible tool.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I could toot that same horn, I absolutely would, because it's so true. I mean, I 100% agree.
And marketing, exposure, PR, marketing, all that tees up. It always goes before the sale. It tees up the sale. It makes the salesperson's job, anybody who's in sales or has a business and try to get people in the door, it always makes the sale easier.
Yeah.
Always.
It's all about that relationship, and this is the place to do it.
That's right.
So that's why, to continue this relationship,
Yes.
what I'm going to suggest to you,
Okay.
we have a special segment.
Okay.
So are you ready for something special?
All right. Let's
All
go.
right. Well, that's a resounding yes to me.
Yes.
So what we're going to do now.
I'm game.
Now let me ask you this, Ewell.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Are you? Would you say you're somewhat of a podcast expert? Like, do you know a lot about podcasts? A lot about, do you listen to a lot of podcasts?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here we go.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yes.
Because this segment, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to read off the title of a bunch of podcasts.
Oh boy.
But you don't know if they're real or if they're fake. So you have to tell me, is this a real podcast or is this a fake podcast?
Okay, well,
are you ready for this?
we'll give it a
You ready
shot.
for this?
All
All
right,
right, that's
we'll
what I'm talking
try.
about. Yeah. Hey, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a 90% rate here? What do you think? You're gonna hit 100%?
I have no idea.
All right, well, let's see. We're gonna see what happens here, folks. All right, so the first one, how I built this.
That sounds real.
That's a real podcast. All right, you're
Ding,
on the
ding,
board.
ding.
You're on the board with one.
Okay, all
That's
right.
why I like. Do you know what that podcast is about?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, just building things.
Yeah.
All right, nice. The next one, Fly on the Wall.
No.
You do not think that's a real podcast? Oh, it's a real podcast.
Okay, there you go.
What would you say? What would you think that podcast is about?
Somebody listening in to conversations.
Okay, I like that. That's a good interpretation. The next one, The Flirty Dozen.
The Flirty Dozen. I have no idea. I'm going to say no again.
Oh, that's right. That's not a podcast.
Okay.
We threw that one in there. We thought maybe you might think that there's like a dozen people, all
Gotcha.
flirting with each other.
Gotcha. All right,
I guess that didn't. I guess that didn't.
It's
That
an
didn't happen on
interesting name.
the smell test. Okay. The next one is Conspiracy Kitten Chronicles.
I would bet that's real.
Really? You think that's real?
Because if it's about kittens,
Oh,
That's
let me tell you, that one
people are
was
very
a
passionate
that was
about
a ChatGPT made up
was it?
podcast.
okay, well, ChatGPT knows what it's doing.
So somebody get out there and make that podcast right
that would
now.
be-
Make that podcast.
People love their cats.
That's right. People do love them. Well, speaking of cats, what about Tiger Belly?
Tiger Belly?
Tiger Belly.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Wrong.
that's a real podcast.
Okay, what is
that's
that?
That's my boy Bobby Lee out there, Korean representation right there. Bobby Lee, come on down. We'll have you on our podcast
Okay,
someday.
awesome.
That's a podcast, fantastic podcast. Really great guy.
Okay.
Next one, last one. My dad wrote a porno.
I'm going to say yes because
Oh, hot dang, you come in strong at the end. That's what matters most. That's right. Ewell nailing it at the end there. Fantastic, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
this was fun.
for playing the game.
Yeah.
I don't know how many you got right, but the people in the comments, let us know how many you got right and
Yes,
what prize you
yes.
deserve for your efforts.
I can only imagine what's going to come up.
Oh,
with
no.
that.
We'll see. That's for the people to decide. This is the People's Choice Award.
All
here.
right. Well, there
All
we
right.
go.
Fantastic. To wrap things up, Ewell. Let me just put this away. To wrap things up, Ewell, just tell us where to find you on social media. Where do you want to?
It's easy.
To seek you out?
You can go to closethedeal.com podcast, closethedeal.com, and then social media at Ewell Smith, EWELL Smith on LinkedIn. I mean, I connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn. By the way, that's been a very powerful tool for anybody in sales. And obviously, if you're not on that tool, you need to be on that tool.
Yeah.
And of course, Instagram, TikTok at Ewell Smith.
Cool. What about your podcast?
My
Where are they at?
podcast is on the players. It's on the big ones, all the big ones.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And what are those
Apple, Google.
podcasts called again?
What's that?
What are your podcasts called again?
Oh, it's closedeal.com podcast, and we have a special series for franchise and funding insights. For anybody who's interested in learning about franchising, we help match the person with their first franchise.
Cool. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Ewell, for joining me. This has been another great segment of Make Marketing Make Sense. Check out the next one, and we'll see you around.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It's
Absolutely.
been
Thank
fun.
you, man. Dude.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. This has been Make Marketing Make Sense, brought to you by Comfystone. If you need video content for social media, your website, or email marketing, hit up Comfystone at comfystone.com and follow Comfystone on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.